Hi, my name is Matikela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want us to talk about the mandate that never existed between Bongani Ndanzi Mjiako. Dominic Mjiako, the lawyer, the bogus lawyer that was supposed to be representing him. Now, this case does not turn on emotion. It does not turn on speculation, and it certainly does not turn onto some assumptions dressed up as law. It turns on one simple question. Was there ever a lawful attorney-client relationship? And if so, where is the proof? That's what we are going to talk about. Because in law, representation is not a belief. It is not a statement. It is not something the state can simply declare into existence. It is a legal fact, and legal facts must be proven. The state tells the court the accused was legally represented. Very well then, but the law responds with a demand, not a debate. Prove it. And we all know that Ubaloyi suffers with proving. He can't. He lacks proving things. Okay? When it comes to that part of proving things, he lacks a lot. He lacks. There has been a dangerous conflation in this case. Attorney-client privilege has been misused as a shield. When there is truth, when in truth, it is a narrow protection, not a blanket immunity. Let us be clear. Attorney-client privilege protect legal advice, strategy, confidential communication about the case, but it does not protect the existence of a mandate, a power of attorney, written instructions, proof of authority, affidavit numbers. Those are objective facts. And objective facts do not become invisible simply because a lawyer is mentioned. This court is not asking what was discussed. This court is supposed to be asking whether representation lawfully existed at all. Actually, let me not even say this court. Let me put it this way. The defense, which is Advocate Ramsipile, is not asking what was discussed between Ndanzi and Mjiako. Ramsipile is asking whether representation lawfully existed at all. That question does not invade privilege. It tests legality because Ndanzi is claiming that I did not have such a relationship with this man. Now, privilege belongs to one person only, the client, not the state, not the lawyer, not the regulator or the regulator body. Sorry, only the client. And when a client stands before court and says, my lord, I had no relationship with Mjiako whatsoever. For me, that may also mean, my lord, I waive privilege for the limited purpose of proving whether a mandate exists. The door opens. I think that is where we are when it comes to the matter of Mjiako. But weirdly, Jadrata is not exercising Section 186 when it comes to that. He's not. Why is he not exercising Section 186 when it comes to that? But he is quick to say for other unrelated situations, he's gonna action Section 176, invoke. Why is he not invoking it here? Why? Not to strategy, not to confidential advice, but to verification. Why is he not verifying? And at that point, the court is not merely allowed to inquire, it is obliged to do so. He must inquire. When it comes to Mjiako, why is he not doing anything? Why is he not, guys, I feel some, what you call here, I've been itching here, so that's why I'm doing this, because even now you can say I'm itching. So apologies if this offends you. But wow, the itching, it's because of the braids. I'm very sensitive. So the situation is simple here. The situation is simple here. This dispute cannot be resolved by arguments. It can only be resolved by evidence. If the state alleges representation, then the burden shifts, not beyond reasonable doubt, but on balance of probabilities. And there is only one lawful way to discharge that burden. Call the alleged attorney. Call the defense lawyer, which is Mjiyako, not to testify about the case, not to reveal discussions, but to answer simple factual questions. How did you come in contact with Bongani Ndanzi? Do you possess a signed power of attorney? Do you have written instructions or correspondence? When was the mandate given? What is the affidavit number? When was the mandate accepted? These questions are not privileged. They are foundational. Without them, representation does not exist. Why is Judge Rota not exercising that when it comes to this? Why? Because Bongani Ndanzi keeps saying, I had no relationship with who? With Mjiyako. So isn't this where he also says, yeah, I'm going to invoke section 186 and I'm going to call him Mjiyako. He must come here and explain. Why is he not doing that? Ask yourself that question. I don't have answers for you, but ask yourself that question. This is where the case begins to fracture. There are multiple affidavit numbers in this matter. 15, 20, I don't care. I'm not sure about the exact number. The law is unambiguous. One legal representative cannot lawfully operate under multiple conflicting affidavits. He can't. An affidavit number is not cosmetic. It is not administrative fluff. It is the legal fingerprint of authority. If affidavit numbers do not align with a signed mandate, a confirmed instruction, a lawful acceptance of brief, then representation collapses, not partially, but completely. And once it collapses, everything built on it collapses with it. Do you understand that? So Judge Rota, no, he must do something about this. And also, do you remember they brought that LPC person? That situation does not change anything. The state, unable to produce a mandate, turned elsewhere. Do you remember? They called a witness from LPC. But let us be honest. The LPC cannot create authority. The LPC cannot manufacture consent. The LPC cannot substitute client confirmation. A regulator body may regulate lawyers, but it cannot retroactively invent mandates. Where none exist, it can't. The witness was called to clarify. They were called to protect an irregularity already committed. And that is not evidence. That is damage control, but it did not help. Now, we arrive at the most serious part of this matter. If no lawful mandate is proven, then the law does not ask what is convenient. It imposes what is necessary. Everything that relied on that alleged representation becomes legally void. Any admissions made in that person's presence, any statements made to the police, any pre-admissions, any procedural steps, any reliance placed by the state, the law treats this not as defective representation, but as no representation at all. And that is exactly what is happening. And representation that never existed cannot validate anything. Not statement, not processes, not outcomes. It can't. It can't. And also, something else that we need to look into, privilege that cannot defeat a court order. Let's talk about that quickly. There is a final misconception that must be corrected. Privilege cannot be used to defy a court order. If a court requires a power of attorney, proof of mandate, written authority, then privilege yields. Not because privilege is weak, but because the rule of law is stronger. A party cannot say rely on privilege to avoid producing a document that the law itself requires to exist. That would turn privilege into a weapon if that was the case. And the law does not permit weapons disguised as rights. It can't. It can't. Much has been made of a recording, but context is everything. At the time, the accused had been arrested. Police stated he had not taken a bath. Ne? I mean, he, not the police. He said he had not taken a bath. His family did not know where he was. He was isolated. He was vulnerable. And there was a recording that was done by Uproniye, knowing very well that there is that situation. That recording was not manipulation. It was self-preservation. The law recognizes fear. The law recognizes power imbalance. And the law does not push a person for creating a record when the system has already failed them. So the record that they think they can work around it, it's not going to help. It's not going to help at all. What's happening now is an expose of things that happened behind the scenes, and they are coming to light one by one. That is the sad part of it all. That is the sad of it all. The case does not fail because of technicalities. It fails because the foundation never existed. If the state alleges legal presentation, it must prove it. Authority, mandate, documentation, confirmation. If it cannot do so, then the law is mercilessly clear. Everything that followed is void. Everything built on that premise collapses. And the court cannot rescue an illegality by looking away. Uratakana choice, even if he wants to. This is not about sympathizing with Bongani Ndanzi. It is not about convenience. It is about whether the law still means what it says. If it does, then the court has only one lawful path. The mandate was never proven. The privilege was misused, and the foundation is gone. Nothing can stand on nothing. Ngeke, I refuse. Ngeke. If there is nothing, then there is nothing to stand on. So Judge Rata has no choice but to fix this. As messy as it is, he needs to fix it. He needs to fix it. Anyway, what are your thoughts when it comes to this entire situation? Let's talk comment section. I want to hear your views. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.